This is the Turf Zone Podcast, your central information and news hub, bringing together professionals from turf associations across multiple states to share things to help you and your business. Brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Tennessee Turfgrass Association. This episode is sponsored in part by Sod, world-class service on demand. Visit us online at www.buysod.com. Now, let's get in the zone.
Welcome to the Turf Zone. In this episode, we feature a member spotlight interview with Bill Marbet, owner of Line to Line LLC. Good afternoon, Mr. Marbet. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about your history and your work in the athletic field industry. So I just want to start at the beginning and ask you, how did you get involved in this line of work? And what was your career path once you did discover that this was where you were good at and what you wanted to do?
Many years ago, when my two sons were playing Little League ball, the dads had to work on the fields, and I owned a tire business here in Columbia, and again, the dads worked on the ball fields, and this one thing led to another, and it became a passion, and other people started to ask us, can you come look at our dirt? Can you come look at our mound? And so that had an opportunity to sell my tire business, and I told my wife that we're going to take a huge leap of faith and chase the passion. And so that's what we've done. And in 1996, we started Southern Athletic Fields and grew that until I think it was 2018. We sold Southern Athletic Fields to Profile Products, and since then I've done a little for them, but now we've branched out and started a couple other companies. We have Game Time Sports Fields. It's a renovation, grading, whatever needs to be done on an athletic field. We try to do it, and then the Line to Line is an accessory based netting and padding, bases, drags, all the other things that I enjoy doing is trying to reinvent the wheel and come up with new and maybe sometimes better ideas on how to maintain baseball and softball fields.
Okay, so have you always primarily worked in baseball and softball, or have you ventured out to football and soccer at all?
We painted and striped football and soccer fields, and we've done a lot of top dressing and grading of football and soccer fields. So we're not just a baseball, softball, but I think that most people know me as the dirt guy. So that's kind of where we've had our home, if you will. Sure.
So with athletic fields, and obviously we're talking because you're a part of TTA, I know there's got to be a lot of cooperation between the grass and the dirt. So do you do a lot of turf grass maintenance, or do you rely on someone else to kind of work with you while you're doing the dirt work?
We have some partners that do most of the turf part of it. We have tried over the years to specialize in the ball field dirts and the mound clays and the particular types of infield mixes, and we've been very fortunate from the little leagues to high schools to colleges to major league fields to have our particular type of infield mix.
Excellent. So I'm going to go back. I think before we started recording, I asked if King of Dirt was your only official title, but I want to know the background of that. How many years did you have to be doing what you're doing to officially earn that title?
Well, I don't know if that's not my idea, but I think there's the one reason they call me that. No one else would ever be wanted to be tagged with that label, but it's just always has been interesting to me that when you we've always said that it's not just dirt. There's a lot more to it, and from the beginning, when we would just find something that was kind of red that would work on a ball field, and to begin to understand what made this particular blend work. But we started looking at the different components of dirt, and we started looking at the percentages of sand, the percentages of silt, and the percentages of clay. And not all areas are the same. So we got into that and found the proper blend, if you will, and we were very fortunate. I've driven thousands of miles, and when you see red dirt, you think, well, that's it, and it just we were fortunate to find an area that it did work, that the percentages were there. And early on, that was before people got into what's called or referred to now as engineered soils. But to have a consistent supply, and that's what we were looking for long term, was a consistent infield mix that a school or an organization could get from us and know from one year to the next that dealing with basically the same material. As time has gone on, and our customers and our coaches and field managers have understood that there's different things that go into this, that besides just going out in the field and with a tractor, we always called it a guy with a backhoe and a dump truck, and he was in the infield business, but that we've learned a lot, and we've tried to educate our customers to the point now where we can, through our blending process that we have, and there's very few other people that are doing the blending that we have done here when we were Southern Athletic Fields, and we continue to do now with line to line. So we can, from year after year after year, we could have exactly the same percentages. We can make sure that the consistency is there for our customers.
That's awesome. So that working alongside coaches, and I know that I love that you got involved starting out as a volunteer field maintenance person with Little League. And then isn't that how we all end up with our kids playing ball? We're volunteering to do something. If it's not coaching, we're out there dragging the fields in between tournament games. In the years since you started out like that, and you've gotten to this place where you have that great consistent blend, and you know that what you're doing works, what do you think has changed about expectations on sports fields? I know here a lot of talk about safety and appearance. How have you walked that line?
Well, and you've said it, the key ingredient of this, anything that we do, is the safety and playability for the athletes. If it's girls or boys, or if they're 5 years old, or a major league guy that's 40 years old. So it's about consistency and making sure that every time that they know that they're going to get a proper bounce on their infield mix.
Definitely. Well, I know as super competitive parents want to make sure that field is playing well, so our babies can make those plays. Tell me, what's been the biggest challenge of the work you do?
The biggest challenge is probably from a financial side to early on for people to understand, especially when we first started, that they could get, and this goes, like I said, way back to the prior to 2000, that you could go out in the field and get a big truckload of dirt, if you will, and for $100, and we may have been, back then we may have been charging $300, but that was that was the educational process for not only me and our employees here, but the coaches themselves for them to understand that there is a difference, and you can make your feel better. In turn, you can make your players better if they feel safe about the surface that they're on. They're obviously, their mindset is going to be, hey, I can make every play with this because I know what I have here. So that's been I don't want to say a challenge, but it's been an education for not only us, but again, our customers.
Definitely. All right. So we got to talk about your position for the last, is it 23 years on the SEC baseball grounds crew?
We started in 1998, so it's been the first time I went down. Had a friend of mine that was the head groundskeeper for the Birmingham Barons that played in Hoover, Alabama, and went down there and met some other buddies. We're sitting in the stands, and the head groundskeeper and his one assistant were trying to change over the field, and this is the first year they had it in Hoover, and he was having, obviously in a short time frame, to do a whole lot of work. So we hopped the fence and go over and help him, and so that's kind of kick-started. And then I had another friend of mine that went to the commissioner, the SEC commissioner, and said, why don't you let this guy take over and get a crew of people down here to take care of this? So Glenn Lucas, who was at Auburn at the time, and later, well, that next year came to work for us at Southern Athletic Fields and continues to work for us now. He and I started talking about this and said, well, that's maybe something that we could do. So we got on the phone and got it in gear, and we have a now in this day and time, and it's quite a production from the SEC tournament, and is a big production period. But for us and for us as we guys as groundskeepers, we have at least, we try to have 24, 25 guys on hand every game. And that's a lot of people. I understand that. But one, we have to have that many for tarp duty. So we never know for that week when it's going to rain, but we have to be prepared. So that's why we have the numbers that we do. And that allows us to really concentrate on specific duties between games. And typically we'll have 12 to 15 minutes to turn the field around, and we take the chalk up, we drag, we water, we pack the mound, pack the plate, change the logos, do all of that in 12 to 15 minutes, and again, and fix the bullpens, both bullpens. So so we have a lot of guys, but we have plenty of things for them to do between games. So that's been a real joy, and the staff at the SEC office are great to work with. Those people are tremendously professional, and that's been a big joy of what we've done.
All right. Well, look, is this putting you on the spot? Is it illegal for me to ask you if you also this past year in the tournament had tears in your eyes as our Tennessee boys went out that way? You can say no comment.
I'm just saying I'm an SEC fan.
Okay. Look, I love that's the proper answer. I'll allow it. All right. So let's talk about your time as a part of TTA. I know that you served on the board in the past, and and it's a great organization with a lot of sports field managers. Has that been helpful to you as you've grown the business and started doing different things, having that network of professionals in the TTA?
When someone says that you're successful, I don't know if I guess that's a relative term, but if I've been successful in anything, is the relationships that I've had with people in the turfgrass industry, from the young guys that when we go into colleges or high schools and see a young man in a high school that says, I'd really like to do that. Well, why don't you could go to one of the SEC schools, for instance, and get a turf degree and go into turf management. And we're fortunate that we've had, there's been several that have become the head turf guys at their schools that have come through what little that knowledge that I may have had that at least it inspired them to make this a career for them. And so that's been tremendously gratifying to the relationships and that's, I think that's something that's missed tremendously now with technology that you get away from the relationships and the one-on-ones and that's if there's anything that I think may have done halfway right is I cherish tremendously the relationships that I've been able to have in this profession.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm gonna throw one more question at you, and it may tie into your last answer. How would you advise young people either just coming into the athletic field or sports turf industry, or who are considering that as a career path?
The biggest thing to me is most of the time you can see immediate results. And if you work hard and you understand and you have a passion for what you do, you're going to see those results. And you're going to get the wow factor, and people say, "Wow, this doesn't look real." But to have that ability to do something like that is very special, and a lot of people, the average person, the average fan can. Well, I know that can't be. If that's real grass, that can't be that easy. Or how does that dirt play like that, and their infield mix, and it's not all choppy, and it's understanding that you did that was part of your effort, and it's just very self-satisfying. And sometimes the money's not exactly what everybody thinks, but I think that our world of groundskeeping and turf professionals is getting better, and I don't think it's going away.
Definitely. Don't miss an episode of Tennessee Turfgrass. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit us at theturfzone.com.
You've been listening to The Turf Zone. Thank you to our sponsors, including Buy Sod, world-class service on demand. Visit us online at www.buysod.com. For more episodes of The Turf Zone, visit theturfzone.com and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app.